Victoria was originally born under the name Nadja Ka at 1986, and she was presumably given Compound V as an infant. As a child, she accidentally killed her parents due to being unable to control her powers and was swiftly sent to the Red River Institute, where she learned how to control her powers. She also met and befriended another orphan named Tony during that period of time. She would get adopted several times by multiple adoptive families, but she ended up killing all of them. She would eventually be adopted by Vought International Stan Edgar, who gave her a new identity, erased all evidence regarding her victims, and made a promise to always look out for her. She would eventually become a dancer in college, and her dancing videos went viral on the internet at some point. Over time, Victoria started a career as a congresswoman with a remarkable profile. When she was 20, Victoria slept with a man named Samir Shah, Stan Edgar's right hand and most trusted scientist at Vaught's R&D. They had a daughter with him named Zoe, whom she cared deeply for. In her public persona, Neuman is a young wonderkind congresswoman who fights against Vaught's corporate agenda and its corrupt superheroes. After the expose of Compound V, she started a rally and pushed the U.S. House Judiciary Committee into starting a hearing about the company and Compound V. Victoria is also capable of being empathic, which she mostly demonstrates with Marie Morale, since they both grew up in Red River and have similar traumas, even seeing her as an equal. For this reason, she's been secretly watching over Marie, being her benefactor and giving her a boost to make sure she gets into Godolphin University. However, she ultimately does it in order to gain a new ally to benefit herself, having her watching her back. Benjamin, also nicknamed Ben, was born in South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1919. The official backstory of Soldier Boy by Vought was that he was born poor and learned the values of hard work, tenacity, and bravery while growing up on the streets. In reality, Benjamin was born into a wealthy home under his distant, judgmental, and overbearing father, a prominent industrial magnate who owned half the steel mills in the state. Ben's father was verbally abusive and neglectful, but never physically hitting him because he viewed him as such a massive failure that he did not consider him worth the effort. Ben recalls that he used to sneak sips of his father's cocktails to try and cope with his father's mistreatment. His father shipped him off to boarding school at a young age, not to mold him into a better person, but rather to get rid of him, leaving Ben feeling abandoned. Unfortunately, Benjamin struggled in boarding school and ultimately flunked out, causing his father to deem him a disappointment and declare him unworthy to carry his name. To make his father proud, Benjamin enlisted in the U.S. Army during WW2 and approached the War Department by using his father's contacts. The experiment succeeded, and he became one of the first and strongest supes in the world. He gained the moniker Soldier Boy and became America's first superhero, a popular sex symbol and a mascot for Vought, American in the U.S. military, who reportedly fought in WW2 and allegedly the 116th Infantry Regiment in the Omaha Beach to victory. Ben returned home to a hero's welcome, with ticker parades held across the nation in his honor. His father once again expressed his disgust towards his son by calling him a cheater that took a shortcut, the way he had by using Compound V, something a real man would never do. Soldier Boy remained a major superhero with Vought for decades. In 1951, Vought released a pseudo-biopic film about Soldier Boy, titled The Soldier Boy Story. It was nominated for Best Picture at the 24th Academy Awards, but lost to An American in Paris. Around this time, Soldier Boy also took part in the Red Scare and testified before the House Un-American Activities Committee. Born in 1975 in the United Kingdom, William Butcher is the first child of Connie Butcher and Sam Butcher. After some time, his younger brother Lenny Butcher was born. Due to his father's abusive behavior, both Lenny and Butcher grew up to be dysfunctional individuals. As the older brother, Billy did his best to protect his younger brother from their abusive father. However, as time went on, Butcher started to develop some of his father's aggressive traits. He eventually ended up beating up the headmaster at his school and a pupil who broke Lenny's nose. Instead of reprimanding his son, Sam rewarded Billy for his violent behavior by giving him alcohol. Afraid of abusing his younger brother, Butcher eventually ran away from home to join the British Royal Marines and later the SAS. While he promised to come back, he was unable to secure leave, and Lenny was driven to suicide by Sam's abuse. At another point, he met and became friends with Joe Kessler. Joe was killed from an unknown mission from which Billy had willingly or accidentally left him behind to die. At some point after, Butcher immigrated to America and met Susan Rayner, who he was romantically involved with, but it didn't work out. At some point after that, he met Rebecca Saunders, whom he fell in love with and married. In 2011, Rebecca would be invited to a Christmas party at Vought Tower. due to being the senior director of digital marketing at Vought International, and would bring Butcher with her. At the party, Butcher would meet Homelander. A few days after the party, Becca met with Homelander in a private room where he raped her. After that, Becca would go to Vought to figure out how to deal with the fact that she became pregnant with Homelander's child. Vought agreed to help her under the condition that she would disappear and would be presumed dead. The contract stated that she was not allowed to tell the truth to anyone, even her husband. While Billy could tell that something was wrong with her, he was not able to make her tell him what was wrong. After her disappearance, Billy believed that she killed herself. Butcher would eventually be contacted by Grace Mallory. Grace would show him a video of his wife entering a room with Homelander, and later leaving the room distressed. Realizing that his wife was raped by Homelander, and that he is responsible for her apparent murder or suicide, Billy would agree to join Grace's team to get revenge on Homelander and Vought. Homelander was born in the spring of 1981 from the semen of Soldier Boy, the first and greatest superhero of America, and a homeless runaway paid by Vought with $2,000 to carry the embryo to term. His birth was an incredibly violent event by his unbelievable powers, lasering his way out of the womb with heat vision, gruesomely killing his mother as her guts opened, and rising in the air with his umbilical cord still attached to him like a creature from myth or a nightmare. Additionally, he killed 3 doctors and a nurse while he was at it. Barbara Finley, one of the head scientists in charge of him, witnessed the horrific moment and knew it only went downhill from it, implying that the newborn Homelander had killed even more people after the initial birth. He was raised in a lab, surrounded by doctors like Jonah Vogelbaum, who named him John Gilman. Throughout his childhood, John was put through painful and traumatic physical experiments and surgeries to test the limits of his abilities. Some of these tests included having his hand forced into a furnace, being boiled alive, and being forced to fight string and hands-fought guards. He was also put under long, strict, and tedious mental conditioning as he was forced to spend hours sitting in front of a projector that displayed images that were chosen to mold his personality with the American flag, Jesus Christ, and a baseball game into becoming patriotic, all American, and turn him into a symbol of the nation itself. Despite these horrible abuses from Vought scientists and his power to easily escape at any time, John was elaborately manipulated to be obedient as he deeply craved love. Affection and approval from the scientists, who were the closest thing he had to a family, could not stand the thought of them being disappointed in him. Vought made the achievement by bringing the best psychologists in the world and successfully developing the protocol to carefully engineer that need. As a child, Homelander had accidentally killed countless female tutors, the most notable incident of which being on March of 1994, when he hugged a woman using far too much strength, breaking her spine and instantly killing her. While these behaviors were usually motivated by indignation, this time it was by isolation-induced depression. At some point during this period, he also developed a sociopathic alternate personality that helped him get through the bad room. Growing up, Homelander was a fan of Soldier Boy, watching all of his movies hundreds of times. Homelander respected Soldier Boy for being the only other supe in existence who was nearly as strong as him, and idolized the latter as his hero, not knowing at the time that they were father and son. Years later, John became the new leader of the Seven. The past of Clara Rissinger is mostly shrouded in mystery. Although she appeared to be in her late 20s to early 30s, she physically didn't age, compared to a normal human. She was born in Berlin, Germany in 1919. According to her, she had an overbearing, snobbish mother named Adele. After moving to America with her husband as part of Operation Paperclip near the end of World War II, when the US government took in leading Nazi scientists, Clara adopted the name Adele Vought and operated under the moniker of Liberty as early as the 1950s. Presumably during or before this time, she made the acquaintance of Soldier Boy. Together, the two participated and co-founded an annual event in 1952 called Herogasm, where many superheroes would participate in a large orgy. During this time, she committed at least one racially motivated murder. In 1972, Liberty stopped a black man named Myron Hunter, the older brother of Valerie Hunter, on the road during a rainstorm. She wrongfully accused Myron of being involved in a robbery and, in a fit of racial profiling, proceeded to punch his jaw off. When he protested that she was supposed to be a hero, she replied that she was for killing a black man like him. At some point around this time, Clara was a member of the Church of the Collective, but left after they became racially inclusive. As Liberty, she took part in commercial endorsements for Budweiser beer and Autumn Breeze feminine hygiene products. Liberty disappeared from the view of the media and her fans, likely due to growing opposition of her open racism. It is unknown where she lived and what she did during this obscurity. It can be assumed that Vought gave her at least one other superhero moniker between 1979 and 2020. As Stormfront, she played to the public, presenting herself as a populist, edgy supe from Portland whose ability to produce glowing purple arcs of electricity and propel herself through the skies draw comparisons to Nordic mythology. Stormfront's open and brash social media presence drew a loyal base of Storm Chaser, fans clamoring for her hot takes, memes, and Insta posts. Misty, born around 195, likely in the southern United States due to her strong accent, became a supe after her parents accepted Vaught's offer to inject her with Compound V shortly after Firecracker's birth, granting her superhuman abilities. Initially known as Sparkler, Misty competed in supe pageants despite her family's very poor background and lack of practice space. For 3 years, she competed against Starlight but never won, though she would eventually reach the top 2. Starlight spread a false and damaging rumor that the then still 13-year-old Sparkler had sexually served judges to advance, claiming that was the only way someone like her could succeed. When Sparkler confronted her, Starlight cruelly retorted that she doesn't talk to fat sluts. This vicious rumor caused Sparkler to lose the pageant and withdraw from the circuit, ruining her reputation and life. Ever since then, Firecracker has held a deep grudge against Starlight. When she was 28 years old, Firecracker worked as a counselor at the Capes in Davie, Florida. While working there, she engaged in sexual relations with a 15-year-old boy in an incident that was caught on camera. Though Vought were able to use their resources to drop Firecracker's statutory charges and sweep the incident under the rug. In general, Firecracker has a black and white view of the world. Her hatred towards Starlight shows that Firecracker is easily resentful and vengeful, believing that people are incapable of changing after she was deeply traumatized and hurt during her childhood. Firecracker's inability to overcome her traumas caused by Starlight makes her an inflexible person. Irving grew up imagining Buster Beaver and his friends comforting him when he went through highly emotional moments, such as at age 9, Irving hid in a ball pit of a pizza restaurant after he paralyzed someone named Louis Frankel, or getting an erection in the 7th grade, and his imagination continued into the present. Later in life, Irving landed membership on the superhero team Payback, starting his career as Black Noir. Much to his displeasure, he was forced to conceal his face by what American due to his race in order to make him more marketable. One attempt to break out as an unconcealed star was to audition for the movie Beverly Hills Cop, but due to Soldier Boy's interference, he lost out to Eddie Murphy. Irving confronted his leader about this, to which Soldier Boy beat him in retaliation, much to the rest of Payback's protest. He told the bloodied Irving that he would be the only star on the team, and that if any other team member attempted to outshine him, he would kill them, fueling Irving and the team's resentment towards him. In 1984, Black Noir was present alongside the rest of Payback in Nicaragua in order to assist the Contra fighters against the Sandinistas. San Edgar approached him with an offer to betray Soldier Boy to the Russians, as Vogelbaum was developing a young Homelander to replace Payback's leader as the face of Vought. Tired of Soldier Boy's abuse, Black Noir and the rest of Payback minus Gunpowder agreed. During the same conversation, he tried to persuade Edgar to allow him to take off his mask, but was shot down. Black Noir stated he would go without the mask, not knowing what would happen next without it. When their military camp is attacked, Black Noir and the rest of Payback cornered and attacked Soldier Boy. Before Mindstorm and Crimson Countess could subdue him, Soldier Boy pinned Black Noir's face to the hood of a burning jeep and bashed his head in with his shield, severely damaging and even removing a part of Black Noir's brain, leaving him brain damaged and scarred forever. Shortly after his birth, Reggie Franklin's parents accepted Vaught's offer to inject him with Compound V, subsequently transforming him into a supe and granting him superhuman powers and abilities. Reggie's father died when he was very young, and his mother had to work 2 jobs. Because of this, his older brother Nathan raised him. He eventually became Reggie's personal trainer after his powers began to develop. Reggie's superhuman speed activated at the age of 3 when he outran the bullets of a deadly shooting towards his home. And as he grew up, this ability allowed him to become a celebrity for Vought International under the name A-Train, and aspired to become a superhero to support his family and also do good. At some point, he became a member of Teenage Kicks, where he entered into a relationship with another member named Pop Claw. He would go on his first date with her where she ordered a dark beer, a New York strip, and a chocolate chip cheesecake, and thought to himself, here's someone who isn't afraid to be happy. A-Train has a history of abusing Compound V, a chemical substance engineered by Vought International, to ensure he is the fastest speedster in the world. This abuse, however, comes at a price when he accidentally kills Robin Ward by running through her. Vought covers the incident up at a press conference by claiming that A-Train was attending to a bank robbery. Maggie Shaw was born in 1982 in Modesto, California. Shortly after her birth, her parents accepted Vaught's offer to inject her with Compound V, transforming her into a supe. When her powers activated, her father exploited her newfound superhuman abilities by having her perform in pageants and competitions to earn money, which he would then gamble away. Maggie was forced to make 3 mall appearances and do a photo shoot for Teen Vogue, all to get the cash for her braces, which her father subsequently squandered at the $5 table at Circus. From a young age, Maggie wanted to make a difference in the world, so she attended Godolphin University, where she eventually adopted the title Queen Maeve. Queen Maeve trained under Richard Brinkerhoff and became the school's top student. Upon graduating, Maggie was drafted into Vought International's new superhero team, the Seven, under the leadership of Homelander. By 2007, she was popular enough to have her own installment in the Vought cinematic universe, Queen Maeve, Her Majesty. During her career, Maeve performed many heroic feats, including saving a school bus, which resulted in every bone in her arm being broken. She also began a romantic relationship with a woman named Alina, but later ended the relationship when she became involved with Homelander. Their relationship soon deteriorated as Maeve became increasingly terrified of his murderous nature and found herself under his oppressive control. One notable incident was when she and Homelander went to an Oscar party for the film 12 Years a Slave. At the party, a producer swapped place cards just to sit to Maeve and chat her up all night. 2 days later, there was a fire in the producer's office, and they found his head in one room and his torso in another. Kevin first became aware of his aquatic telepathy at 9 years of age, as he began hearing the thoughts of every aquatic animal he encountered, whether at a pet store, aquarium, beach, or Red Lobster. At first he believed was going insane. However, his mother deceived him, calling it a gift and that he was just born that way. Over time, his body would continue to mutate, sprouting aquatic gills on his torso, a trait that Kevin was highly insecure about as he believed himself to be ugly, and afraid that people would reject him. At some point, Kevin attended and graduated from Godolphin University and was ranked number 6. Kevin eventually became a superhero known as the Deep, rising through fame and stardom as one of America's greatest superheroes, and a founding member to the world-famous superhero Team the Seven. Over the years, the Deep would sexually harass, humiliate, or assault most of the women he encountered as a way to feel less worthless, thinking they would do the same to him if they knew about his gills, a unique physical feature of his which gave him tremendous body dysmorphic disorder. 1 year at a VH1 Educator Awards ceremony, the Deep had an encounter with a kindergarten teacher named Melissa Dabrowski, who the Deep was supposed to award Teacher of the Year. While backstage, he finger-banged Melissa and abandoned her right after while she was dressing herself, humiliating her. Over the years, the Deep became good friends with fellow heroes such as Lamplighter, another member of the Seven, but received habitually verbal abuse, and hazing from other heroes such as Homelander and A-Train, due to their sense of superiority to both him and his powers. Following Lamplighter's retirement from hero work, the Deep was chosen to host the debut of the Seven's newest member and Lamplighter's replacement, Starlight. Annie January was born somewhere around August 4th, 96-97 as the only child of Donna January and an unnamed man. Desiring for their child to be special, Annie's parents decided to take Vaught's offer to have her injected with Compound V and be turned into a supe. Afterward, Annie would be groomed by her parents to become a superhero and would grow up in a hyper-religious home. Hence, she would ask about the origins of her powers. Her parents would lie and tell her that God gave them to her, further reinforcing her faith in Christianity. Despite Donna and her husband both agreeing to turn Annie into a supe, Annie's father would come to regret his decision due to the guilt of having to lie to his daughter. The guilt would eventually make him leave his family. Despite losing her husband, Donna would continue to train her daughter so that she could become a famous superhero one day. To achieve that objective, she would force Annie to participate in dancing contests such as a Little Miss Hero pageant and other supe pageants to lay the groundwork for her hero career. As revealed by Firecracker, Annie had been in the supe pageant circuit for at least 3 years, having competed against her in their childhood to early teens. At her core, Annie is an idealist and one of the very few supers who truly care about helping others and doing what she believes is right. She cares little for publicity, being uncomfortable with the amount of attention she gets from the media, as well as being pressured to change her costume, to be an over-sexualized role model for young girls. She also suffered from imposter syndrome during her early time as a member of the Seven, as she had yet to perform any notable heroic acts. Kimiko Miyashiro was born in 1993 in Japan. In her youth, Kimiko grew up with her parents and brother Kenji on the coast of Japan. Kimiko adoringly remembers looking at palm trees in the moonlight from her home country. One night, a group of terrorists from the Shining Light Liberation Army broke into her home, beat down and killed her parents. The soldiers nabbed Kimiko and Kenji, forcing them to serve in their army in the war-torn Philippines for many years. One evening, Kimiko saw her brother ravenously eat through his small rations of food at their camp in a jungle. She quietly sneaks over to him and gives him the rest of her food. Kenji refuses and insists that she eat. Kimiko affectionately pats him on the head and leaves. She eventually tried and managed to escape, but was recaptured however, and taken prisoner by the terrorist group and smuggled into the United States, where she was experimented on with Compound V, provided by A-Train. Her experimentation was a part of an elaborate plot by Homelander to create supervillains and allow them to wreak havoc over the world. This would force the U.S. government to allow superheroes to join the army and combat these superhuman threats. After being given Compound V as a child, he eventually became a member of the Young Americans. He also became the lead singer of Vaught's boy band, Super Sweet. During the August airing of 7 on 7 with Cameron Coleman, it was reported that Supersonic was making waves in the hero charts after a long stint in rehab. There were also rumors about his supposed relationship with Starlight during his time as drummer boy. Supersonic was a very friendly, humble and easygoing guy. He was able to easily rekindle his friendship with Starlight and quickly warmed up to Huey Campbell as he went out of his way to be polite and friendly with him. He was also implied to be unlike most supes, and that he was a real hero and used his powers to save innocent lives instead of exploiting them to commit crimes and gain fame. Also, much like Starlight, he frequently cracked jokes that caught others off guard, such as when he implied he was still in love with Starlight before revealing he was merely messing with her. Shortly after Jessica's birth, her parents accepted Vaught's offer to inject her with Compound V, subsequently transforming her into a soup and granting her superhuman intelligence. Sage appears to have no pictures of her family in her apartment, which could indicate that she may not be close to them, possibly due to the deal they made with Vought at her birth. Despite this, Sage implies that she loves and deeply cares for her grandmother. When she was 11, her grandmother was diagnosed with stage 3 leukemia with no cure. The doctors, not caring about saving some old ex-Black Panther, told her parents there was nothing to be done. She stayed up for 3 nights researching a cure. After this, the young Sage presented her research to the doctors. However, they disregarded her work and laughed at her, saying she was adorable and patted her on the head. As a result, her grandmother died a painful death. This experience made her develop a hatred toward humans. Sage eventually became a superhero, and at some point in her career, she became a member of Teenage Kicks. She is one of the few people not afraid to tell Homelander the truth and give him constructive criticism. Robert Vernon was born in around 183 to the wealthy Vernon family, a family known for owning the largest private penitentiary in the United States, and has a history of being slave catchers during the 1800s. He had an idyllic childhood, thanks to his family's generational wealth accumulated over 11 generations from slave catching and later private prisons. After his parents passed away, he was raised by his butler, Elijah. Upon reaching adulthood, he inherited Vernon Corp, his family's business. Robert would later attend and graduate from Godolphin University, becoming the famous superhero known as Tek Knight. After this, he would eventually mentor Ladio, his sidekick. He also had starred in several of his own movies, including Tek Knight Lives, Tek Knight, Heat of the Night, the Tek Knight. At an unknown time and date, Tek Knight arrived to handle a hostage situation. He quickly defused it. However, in the process of saving the hostage, Sheila, he inadvertently broke her spine, resulting in paraplegia. The accident was later reported in the newspaper. Tek Knight is a selfish, clever, and threatening person